All right, what is up, everybody? Divine Hood here, coming at you with another daily update on Bitcoin and the crypto markets. Okay, guys, so since the live stream on Friday, Bitcoin has continued to pump up to some very key levels of resistance on the chart. And if we go back to Friday's live stream, I talked about a couple things here. We talked about this big Fibonacci channel. And let me zoom out onto the 3-day chart here. This Fibonacci channel has guided Bitcoin in all major swing positions throughout the entire bull market. Now, after breaking the initial channel, which is the pink lines here, let me go there, and I'm actually just going to lock that. After breaking the initial channel to the upside, we have come up to, last year, made a new all-time high into the 1.618. But after falling back inside of it earlier this year, holding the midline, we have had a couple attempts now to break back out of that major trend again and continue up to the next fib level, expansion levels of this channel. Well, on Friday, I talked about around that 118K area, 118 to 119K was the top of the channel. It is also the top of our key pitchfork band of our wave 3 pitchfork, pulled from the lows of wave 3 to the highs of wave 3 to the lows of wave 4 on our big impulsive structure to the upside of the entire bull market. And we were looking at two major resistances to the upside. So let's go ahead and zoom in here, and you can see over the weekend, really Friday night, right after I ended the stream, we continued to pump up, and we broke above the midline of our multi-cycle pitchfork. I'm going to zoom out on this real quick. We'll talk about this for just a second. So 3-day chart again, you can see that this pitchfork has been respected as well, all major positions in the bull market. And we talked about if we can break above this band, especially if we saw a volume imbalance candle busting through that band, or a volume supported push to the upside busting through that band, we could see us continue up to 121K to 122K, where the next pitchfork band was, which is the area we did continue up to. So we were talking about a few levels of resistance in price discovery. The fib channel, the pitchfork band pulled from the wave 3 of this bull cycle, and then we were also talking about that 114, 115K area, which is the midline of our multi-cycle pitchfork. We were able to bust above that multi-cycle pitchfork and close the weekly candle above. That is a very, very bullish sign for Bitcoin. Last time we did that, we did continue to range for a couple months, ultimately making multiple attempts at new highs and one new all-time high. So Bitcoin is showing strength by closing above that 115K, closing a weekly candle above that 115K area of resistance. But we are coming up to the pitchfork resistance that I talked about last time. And you can see here, where did we end the drop of our multi-month drop correction to the downside? We ended at the top of at the bottom of the lower band. Well, now we have worked our way up through the pitchfork, back testing the midline, and we're at the upper band of that pitchfork, where we could find some resistance here and at least see a bit of a consolidation, which we oftentimes see consolidation that happens within these bands. A range form around this band area, upper band area, or if we can break this band and flip it to support, we could continue up to the top of the pitchfork again, where you can see the last time we came up to the top of the pitchfork, that was our all-time high area, and we did see a multi-month correction from the top of the pitchfork. So let's go ahead and zoom in and let's talk about the developments that have happened since Friday's live stream. First, I'm going to go back onto the Coinbase chart real quick, and let's zoom in onto the 4-hour chart. This is very, very important, and it's even going to come into what's happening very locally right now. But you can see we consolidated a bit over the weekend. This little range in here was over the weekend, Friday through Saturday, Sunday evening. And then we continued to impulse to the upside, breaking above. You can see the first time we hit into that fib channel, we did see a bit of a rejection in a range form over the weekend after hitting into that channel. Now, that range forming was a bit of a triangular consolidation pattern that we were seeing, and it broke to the upside. We broke above our fib channel resistance, and you can see what is happening. We are rejecting from the top of the band of this pitchfork here, and we are coming back down to bullishly backtest this channel. Let's see, I think I just messed that channel up. Okay, let me go back here a few times because there we go. Okay, 4-hour chart. There we go. All right. So you can see we did reject from the channel, chopped around for a bit, and now we are back testing that channel, flipping it to support possibly. Okay, I just wanted to make sure this channel, let me unlock this real quick and let me make sure that is right on the button. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Bitcoin is seeing a bit of a drop today after making one new high into our upper band of resistance on the other pitchfork. But if we can hold this fib channel, and I would like to close a weekly candle above it, we have already, if we zoom out onto the daily chart, you can see we've already closed a daily candle above it after consolidating a little bit for the weekend. We've closed a daily candle above it, and we're seeing our daily candle continue. But we are seeing some concerning signs on Market Cipher with our momentum wave being topped out and our money flow also topping out and rolling over here. Now, our momentum wave did go so high that it did invalidate a fourth drive of bear divs, and it invalidated any daily bearish divs that we were seeing on the chart. This to me is a very bullish sign for Bitcoin and showing that Bitcoin could continue up to some much higher targets. But that doesn't mean we aren't going to see a pullback first. And it is getting a little bit overheated on the daily, and we could see a bit of a pullback. So let's go ahead and zoom back in onto the 3-hour chart. And I want to talk about now this fib channel being flipped to support. You can see the fib channel is going to be coming in around 118.8, 118.7K. And if we look at today's price action, we've been dropping for most of the day. Let's go on to the 15-minute chart. I do see a nice potential impulsive structure to the downside forming here, where we could see a 5-wave corrective move. We see from the high a 1, 2, 3. We're consolidating in a 4 right now, and if we roll over and see a 5th wave, that would give us our 5-wave impulsive move into our level of support. Now, on the first attempt of testing this support, it might hold and we might push up, and I'm going to be watching for a bigger 3-wave corrective move, a bigger ABC correction. So when we see an ABC correction, you're looking for a 5-wave move to the downside in a wave A, you're looking for a 3-wave move to the upside in a wave B, and then you're looking for another 5-wave impulse to the downside in a wave C. And this is what we could potentially experience over the next week or so, based off of what we're seeing on lower time frames on the chart. You can see our money flow is leaving out of the asset here. We did confirm some hidden bear divs earlier today on Bitcoin, actually while forming this wave 4 channel to the upside, or triangle, whatever you want to call it. And if we zoom out onto our hourly chart, money flow is starting to come out now. We did just, with this last hourly close that just happened 3 minutes ago now, we are seeing the money flow trying to round off and come to the upside again. And there is a very big possibility that after that 5th wave down, we could bounce from this 118K and then continue to grind to the upside. And we might not see this bigger ABC correction. And I will explain why we could see that here. First off, let's go back to our pitchfork band. Now you can see this pitchfork band. What happened over the weekend? Right after we ended the stream on Friday, we pushed up above the band. We were able to, over the weekend, back test that band multiple times, the lower part of the band multiple times, flipping it to support and breaking up and trying to break above the upper band, which is a very bullish sign. But oftentimes in these bands, you do form ranges here. So we could see a range form over the next week inside this band or around the general area of this band, like I've shown many times in my videos. These pitchfork bands like to form these consolidation ranges. If we look, let's go ahead and go back to the Coinbase chart, and let's talk about the bigger price action to the upside, the bigger impulse to the upside that we're experiencing. Because I do think continuation is more likely to happen for Bitcoin after overall this impulse from our 98K area of support, which was the back test of the midline of this key pitchfork, the last time we hit into that midline, I've discussed this on Friday's live stream, on Thursday's live stream. If you guys have not watched that, I would recommend going back and watching that. I discussed this pitchfork in detail and how we did not backtest this midline until that point. And once we backtested it, we saw buyers stepping in and we started to get some impulsive price action to the upside. So from this support touch of the pitchfork midline, we have started a pretty bullish Elliott structure to the upside. And the way that I'm counting this right now is a double 1-2 structure. So we have our low from the midline support. We got our first initial push to the upside and then a correction. And it looks like it was a flat correction. A, B flat, C. Come down and take the lows, the highs of the range first and a B flat, then the lows of the range. That is your wave 1 and your wave 2. Then we see another wave 1 to the upside and a little bit of a triangle here for a wave 2. And now we are impulsing in a wave 3 to the upside. So I am looking at this as a double 1-2 impulse to the upside. And in a double 1-2 impulse, if you see a 1-2, 1-2, you get your big third wave, and then you could see you're gonna see a 4-5, 4-5. So two more. If you have two 1-2s, you will have two 4-5s at the end of this. And the most likely scenario for this is for Bitcoin to continue to grind up a little bit more. And we could be looking for it to grind up maybe within this structure, potentially even breaking out to the top of the pitchfork, but we'll start to discuss that in a bit. I just want to show you guys, where did Bitcoin end the highs from yesterday? Yesterday on Sunday. So if we go from the lows of wave 1 to the highs of wave 1 to the lows of wave 2, and that's a way to measure where your wave 3 could potentially end. And if we go ahead and toggle that over, you can see Bitcoin pumped in its third wave to the exact most common third wave target, being the 1.618 Fibonacci extinction target. So this confirms to me that this is most likely a double 1-2 impulse. We have pushed up in our third wave. Our third wave could be done to the upside, and we are going to see a bit of a 4 correction, one more 5 making a new high, and then another 4, and then another 5 making 2 new highs overall. And those highs could be barely piercing above the highs of the previous one, but I do expect to make new highs on Bitcoin overall. Bitcoin is looking overall pretty good here. Yes, we do have some bear divs on the chart, higher highs on the price action, lower highs on the momentum waves on the 4-hour chart, but your money flow is still looking pretty bullish here, and it is starting to roll over. But overall, money flow is going to dictate the overall trend, and the overall trend is pushing to the upside, and money flow is still strong to the upside. Maybe just a bit of a cool off in these retraces in wave 4s before making new wave 5s to the upside. So we are seeing the rejection from the area where we expect to see a bit of a rejection from, ending our possible third wave push to the upside. And I am expecting overall Bitcoin to continue to grind higher. What I want to see now, because we have confirmed some key levels of support just below us, and generally in an impulse to the upside, we have in your wave 3 here, you want to also see a 5-wave count to the upside, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our 5-wave impulse within your wave 3 of a bigger impulsive structure. And inside that wave 3, you have your wave 4 lows here. And generally, your pullbacks in a higher degree wave 4 will not come below the lower degree wave 4, or it will barely take out those lows, but not go much lower. So where do we have some confluence down in this area? Well, you can see this is our key pitchfork, where the last time we did hit up, let's go ahead and zoom out onto the 8-hour chart. The last time we hit up into this pitchfork lower band, we got a wick past it, lost it, bearishly backtested a couple times, and then ended up making a bigger correction down to the midline. Well, same thing here. We pierced above it. Now we're losing it. If we do come back up there, backtest it, we could work our way down to the lower band here. And that lower band, we have some new confluence of support in that area. Let me go ahead and go onto the Coinbase chart here. It is going to be a little bit above our fib channel, our key important fib channel that we did break out of. But it is a high time frame area of support and resistance, and it's not exactly respected to the dollar every single time on the lower time frames. Generally on the weekly, you will see a weekly candle wick or body close right at that level. But I see this area of support that is developed just below us, where we do have the Coinbase naked weekly point of control coming in at 117,700, and we also have a new daily level coming in at about 117.4. You can see that these levels of support below us are in perfect confluence with the lower part of the band that we did break on Friday. So this area here is our local area of support where we could see Bitcoin bounce in the wave 4, in our larger degree wave 4, our 1, 2, 1, 2, this is our 3, come down here for a wave 4 to bounce to make those 2, 4, 5s in some sort of finishing structure to finish this impulse before seeing a bigger move to the downside afterwards. So local area of support 117.7 to 117.4. We also do have that fib channel. We could bounce from that fib channel if Bitcoin is going to remain a little bit more bullish, about 118.5-ish. We have that fib channel coming in. Let's go ahead and just zoom in onto the hourly. And that fib channel is, 118.5, 118.7, depending on time-wise. And so what I'm looking at here is a potential ABC correction to the downside in your wave 4. In your wave 4, your larger degree wave 4, you're looking for a 3-wave corrective move down. And let's just go ahead and refresh this from this area. So we have our 1, 2, 1, 2. Your big third wave is finished now. We're looking for a 4 and then another 5 and then a 4 and then 5. Within this 4 here, we're looking for a 3-wave corrective move down. So what I'm potentially watching for, and within your 3-wave corrective move, you're going to see an impulse in wave A, a 3-wave corrective move in wave B, and then another impulse in wave C. It's fractals within fractals with Elliott. So we are already seeing a clear potential 5-wave impulse to the downside. We could bounce from 118.8 only to come up to our local golden pocket area, reject from our local golden pocket, and then move down in your wave C to that 117,500 area where we could complete our wave 4 and then make another push up. So because of this analysis that we've seen, because of the confluence that we are seeing here of rejecting perfectly from our trim-based Fibonacci extinction of the 1.618 and seeing high probability of this being a bigger double 1-2 impulse, I will be looking at that general area of 117.7 to 117.4 to look for a potential long opportunity to at least break the highs of 123.2-ish. And Bitcoin's looking pretty strong. It looks like right now we are closing a new daily candle. We closed it 12 minutes ago. Let's actually zoom out here on the daily chart. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a new, well, it's not a daily resistance yet, but if tomorrow we could have a daily resistance if this candle closes red. We'll have to wait for that to see. But I do think we could see a bit of a move down here, a bit of a move over the next day or two to see that 3-wave corrective move into that general area of 117.7 to 117.5 and then see another push to the upside. But overall, guys, Bitcoin is looking strong. We are breaking some very, very key levels of resistance, and we are flipping those levels of resistance into support. Once again, if we go back, let's just go onto the 6-hour chart and let's go to that pitchfork. Breaking above on Friday, Thursday and Friday, and holding above this pitchfork band of support now flipping it to support over the weekend is a very bullish sign for me. And in my stream on Thursday and Friday, I did talk about how the lower part of this band has already been tested, so it's more likely that we pump to the upper part of the band, and we have done so now. And I actually expect Bitcoin overall to continue pushing a little bit higher. If Bitcoin is going to see a pretty large 4-5 push to the upside, like if we're going to see this 1-2, 1-2, our 3 is ended, a 4-5, 4-5, and we can get an extended 5th in that last one, Bitcoin could potentially push up to the top of this pitchfork again, and the top of this pitchfork is going to be coming in around 136 to 138K, depending on how fast we get up there. And that could be a major area where we could see a much bigger top and then start to really roll over and see a multi-$1,000 correction to the downside. Okay, let's look at our liquidation heat map because just looking at the last 24 hours of price action and looking very, very locally at Bitcoin, let's go zoom into that 15-minute again and look at the push down that we've been seeing so far today. So far, we are seeing a pretty clear potential 5-wave impulsive structure to pushing to the downside. Let's do it on the Coinbase chart here. 3, 4, and we could see a 5 down to that fib channel of support. And if we look at, let me go ahead and get rid of that there. If we look at our local liquidation just below us, you can see we do have that liquidity coming into about 118.7, 118.5. That is going to be where our pitchfork channel, fib channel, excuse me, our fib channel is going to be acting as support. So we have liquidity into this level of support now. And now that we are breaking above it, you can see earlier today we back tested it, confirmed a flip to support, pushed up to that 1.618. So I do think that 5-wave impulse could complete. We could see a scalp long opportunity from 118.5, 118.8 to push up to our local golden pocket, where I would take out at least 75% of the trade and potentially flip short if we're seeing some bearish absorption on the charts. But yes, it is a very risky scalp trade, so do not take that scalp long unless you absolutely know what you're doing and absolutely know how to calculate risk and set stop losses ahead of time. But overall, I am expecting a potential 3-wave correction down to that 117.5 area, 117.7, and then continuation to the upside. But that's about it we're seeing on Bitcoin, guys. Bitcoin is breaking some very key high time frame levels of resistance and flipping them into support. So if we go back to that multi-cycle pitchfork and we look at that midline that I did talk about on the stream on Friday, we were looking for a break above this midline. And if we did break above it, specifically with a volume imbalance candle to the upside, we could look for it to be back tested and flip to support to continue pushing up higher. Now, I do not think we're going to drop that far yet. That's about 115 to 115.5 depending on time. I do think we're going to see a smaller correction, continue this overall structure to the upside, and then we could come down and hit that level, which it would be coming in at higher targets by then. But that's what I'm going to be looking for on Bitcoin over the next weeks, over the next days here. We'll just kind of give updates every day to see if this kind of scenario is still playing out, but I do think it is the most likely scenario to play out right now. If we look at our CVD and open interest, we really aren't seeing much of an edge right now in the market as far as CVD and open interest goes. If we zoom it out to the 15-minute chart, we are seeing still our open interest increasing really nicely and really steadily, pushing to the upside, but our open interest is not making lower lows, so we're not seeing bullish absorption yet on the charts. And even in some aspects, we just saw local bearish absorption. In this push down that we're seeing right now, this 5-wave 15-minute push to the downside, you can see as we were forming that wave 4 here, this triangle in a wave 4, we were making lower highs on the price action here, higher highs on the CVD, and your open interest it's relatively flat, but I would say it's borderline bearish absorption, which is giving me that signal that we could drop a little bit lower to that 18.8 to 18.5K area of support, completing this impulse to the downside, this intraday micro impulse to the downside. Okay, now let's go ahead and go back to the charts here. I do want to cover the total market cap chart. There's some very interesting updates with total market cap. But before we go into that, I just want to say if you're going to get anything out of this video, please hit the like button. Please share this video with anyone you think would find it interesting. Just helps me out, helps the channel grow a little bit. We also have a couple sponsors of the channel. We do have BYDFI. They are a VPN-free and KYC free exchange. All you need is an email and a password to sign up. They are offering a 15% initial deposit bonus on your initial deposit and up to $8,100 in futures trading bonuses, depending on how much volume you move in that futures trading market. They also offer if you use that affiliate link, a minimum of 17% discounts on trading fees, but you can get larger discounts on your trading fees depending on how much you deposit. Link is in the description if you're interested in joining BYDFI. Also, I am starting a new community with BYDFI where if you do use my affiliate link to sign up with BYDFI and deposit just $100, then you will get access to a Telegram group that I've created with BYDFI where I will give you guys updates on my trading setups, scenarios, just kind of things that I'm looking at. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the description to sign up for the website and the Telegram group. Second, we do have NAMI. NAMI is a momentum and money flow indicator. I use this for entry and exit confirmations on my trades. They are running a 50% off special for a limited time if you use my affiliate link. The link and the discount code are in the description below if you're interested in getting that. And then lastly, we have MEXC. MEXC is offering 10% cash back on your initial deposit and up to $20,000 in futures trading bonuses. They also have just launched their new Pump.Fund campaign, where if you do sign up using my affiliate link, you can get discounts on Pump.Fund tokens. So link is in the description for that as well. Okay, on back to the TA, onto the total market cap chart. All right, guys, let's zoom out onto the daily chart. And the last time, this is a very, very similar pitchfork to the pitchfork that was pulled for Bitcoin of that big third wave impulse to the upside, followed by your 2024 wave 4 correction here. And if we look at this pitchfork, the last time we came up into the top of this pitchfork, we did see a rejection. This was in November and December, and I was telling people to take profits on some altcoins and even Bitcoin based off hitting the top of this pitchfork. Well, you can see what happened is we ended up just, chopping around in the band. By the way, this is kind of what I'm going to be looking for on Bitcoin right now, chopping around in the upper band, forming a range. And we chopped around in it for a little while, tried to make an attempt at another new all-time high, couldn't. Because it made a lower high, and then we broke the band to the downside, came down to the midline. The midline held as support. We got a push up, made another lower high, and then we busted down through the midline. Back tested that after losing that midline. You can see we back tested it as support, confirmed a flip to resistance, or back tested it as resistance, bearish back test, confirmed it to resistance, and dropped down to the lower band. Had a bounce from the lower band, but made another lower high and then came down. We front ran the bottom of the pitchfork, but we did kind of work our way from the top of the pitchfork all the way pretty much to the bottom of the pitchfork. After flipping, finding support, flipping market structure, you can see we broke above the band, back tested the band, held it as support, pushed through the midline, tried to hold the midline for a couple months, lost it, back tested it. But now we are getting back above that midline, and you can see we're starting to impulse. If we zoom in here a bit, let's go on to the 4-hour chart. We have now been able to, it was acting locally as resistance, that midline. You can see here, acting as support through here. We lost it. 1 backtest, 2 backtests, 3 backtests. Couldn't quite break it, but then we have recently started breaking it to the upside and impulsing above it. So now this midline is going to be acting as a support level, and we did break up to our next major box of resistance above. If we zoom back out onto the daily chart, you can see we've wicked past it, but we have not closed any levels above our box of resistance that we were looking at. Now, this is the total market cap chart. So this is all the money that's in crypto, Bitcoin, altcoins, everything. And I do think there's a potential possibility that, especially because Bitcoin's in that impulse and this total market cap is in that 112 impulse, we have a high possibility of working our way to this upper band again here. And so what this tells me is that we do have more continuation to the upside here, a higher likelihood to continue to our next major levels of resistance on this more macro pitchfork. Could we see a bit of a pullback from here? Yes, we could. We could pull back in a wave 4 and then see that 4545 pushing up and breaking above, clearly breaking above the all-time highs of the crypto market cap. I will say that we did just have sort of a double top of that crypto market cap. So if we come over here, we put it on the highs. Okay, no, we broke above it quite a bit. We did see an SFP of the total market cap of crypto. So yes, it would be appropriate to see a little bit of a pullback here, confirming a daily swing failure pattern of the all-time high. But I do expect the total market cap to continue pumping to the upside. Money flow on the daily looks very strong here. You can see it's coming in pretty nicely here. Yes, your momentum wave is topping out, but there's no bear divs on the chart, and we are seeing that money flow, which will always overpower a momentum wave or even a drive of bear divs. NAMI money flow is starting to curve over and roll down here, but I do expect it to find some local support levels to continue up higher. And if we go ahead and look at our volume profile of this entire upper range, you can see we are breaking above the value area high of this volume profile. and closing daily candles above the value area high. This tells me that now this value area high could be acting as a local support level, where if we are going to roll over just for the next couple days, see a bit of a sideways and down correction, then we could see us make that grind down on the total market cap to backtest the value area high as support to continue up to our pitchfork band. Okay, that is it for the total market cap chart. Let's now go into Ethereum. Ethereum, guys, is looking pretty strong here, but we are hitting into that key level of resistance that we've had marked down the charts for weeks now. And this level, if any of you guys caught my live stream on Thursday or Friday, we've discussed Ethereum. Ethereum was in a range for about 70 days, 60, 70 days here. And that was right around that pitchfork band, that upper pitchfork band, where you often like to form ranges within these bands or around these bands. We were able to break that bearish pitchfork to the upside, breaking up to the top of the pitchfork. And on Friday, let's zoom into the 4-hour chart. On Friday, we were coming up and hitting the top of the pitchfork here, Thursday and Friday. You can see we just had a little bit of a rejection, and now we broke above it over the weekend, flipped it to support locally, and pushed up to our box of resistance. Now, if you guys remember what I said on the live stream on Friday, I did say that we could see a fake out of a break of this bearish pitchfork just to come up into our purple box of resistance, being our macro golden pocket, our naked weekly point of control, and the bearish backtest of our weekly bull market channel. And then if we do start to come up into this purple box and reject from this general area and fall back inside the pitchfork, then we could see a much bigger drop to the downside. Well, on the daily chart, we are still above that pitchfork. We are still above the breakout of the bearish pitchfork, which is a bullish sign for me. But I am still going to be watching, because this is our macro area where if Ethereum is going to reject and make an overall lower high in this bull market, this 3,100 area is an area where we could see it highly likely to happen. So I'm still going to be watching for a potential rejection and a swing short opportunity from this 3,100 area. But right now, locally, I do expect Ethereum to continue to push up a little bit higher. Very, very similar to Bitcoin. We have an impulsive structure. Looks like we have a double 1-2 here as well. Third wave. We could see a retrace from now to backtest that pitchfork, and then a couple 4-5s to come up to that 3,100 to potentially even 3,300, and then see that bigger correction if we are going to see that. So very locally, Ethereum is hitting into the macro 618 golden pocket at 3,000. We are seeing a little bit of a rejection from that area, a little bit of a pullback, I should say, not a rejection, a pullback from that area, finally hitting into our box of resistance. And I do expect us to kind of continue to grind down and backtest this pitchfork as support. You can see the money flow on Market Cipher B is now coming to the upside again on the 1-hour chart. No bear divs. We were seeing some local bear divs here. Higher highs into the price action, lower highs in the momentum waves coming up into your golden pocket. So we had 1-hour bear divs coming up into the golden pocket. If we go on to the 2-hour chart, no 2-hour bear divs, except, yes, we do have 2-hour bear divs between these highs. Higher highs in this, lower highs here, and then also your money flow has been consistently draining out here. So I would like to say this. I expect Ethereum to continue a little bit higher, but we are starting to see some warning signs that Ethereum could be about to see, after making a couple new highs up into that 3,100 area, we could get a bigger pullback, actually a real $100 correction to the downside here. And the reason why is because we are starting to see some of these very bearish patterns on some intermediate time frames. Lower highs in the momentum waves, and also your money flows draining out of the asset as you're grinding up and starting to lose some momentum into key resistance. If we look at the 4-hour chart, 4-hour chart, same thing as well. Those 4-hour bear divs, higher highs in the price action, lower highs in the momentum waves. Money flow is starting to top out here. You also did see us print a hidden bear div just recently on NAMI here, coming up into key resistance, key macro resistance. But on the daily chart, if we zoom in onto the daily chart, money flow is still looking pretty good here. Money flow is rising to the upside still on the daily chart. Yes, your momentum wave is starting to look a little bit toppy here, and that toppiness in the momentum wave is what could give us that little bit of a grind to end our impulsive structure. This has been our impulsive structure so far. Towards the end of your impulsive structure, you expect to see a little bit of exhaustion in the selling, oftentimes creating that ascending channel that ends up topping out and then you break it to the downside. So I'm looking for Ethereum to come a little bit higher, but warning signs that we could see a pullback, a bigger pullback soon. Now, if we do pull back, I am going to be looking at that pitchfork, that breakout of the pitchfork as a support, as our first support level. Until we break back inside the pitchfork, that pitchfork is going to be around 2970-ish. And if we pull a volume profile of just this range that formed over the weekend, okay, point of control is now a little bit higher than that, but it's going to be around that pitchfork area. Let's pull our golden pocket from the lows of this little range to the highs. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is a couple areas of interest that I'm looking at. Our golden pocket retrace of this from the lows of the range to the highs of the range. You can see that golden pocket is going to be coming in right at the pitchfork level of now support. And then if we lose that, the 786 value area low would be the next area to look. We also have an internal liquidity grab into that area. So if we did see a confirmed swing failure pattern, if we did a three-wave corrective move, saw a confirmed swing failure pattern of 2940, and then started to close, 5 to 15 minute candles above it, I would potentially even look for a scalp long in here to bring up to 3100. So that's your local levels of support. If we do see a bigger drop and break back inside the pitchfork, start to close 4-hour candles back inside of that pitchfork, then I'm going to be looking for a bigger retracement to the downside. And in that case, we're going to be looking at between the 382 and the 0.5. That is going to be between 2800 and 2728 there. Generally, in your wave 3, if this is going to be our 1 2 1 2, and then from the lows of 3 to the highs of 3 here, if we're pulling back in a wave 4, if the wave 3 is done and we're going to pull back in a wave 4, generally that pullback is between the 0.382 and the 0.5 Fibonacci. So I would not want to lose that 2700 area. You can also see we have a very nice order block in here, 8-hour order block that's coming in there. And let's actually let's zoom out to the daily chart. And let's mark out that daily as well. We do have a daily that's going to be right next to our 786. Yeah, okay. So it looks like to me the nicest, most local level of support to the downside is going to be that 2940 area, 2945-ish area. We have our daily level, we have our 786, and we have the value area low of our local range. Before that, we do have a confluence of support that's going to be coming in at 2973 to 2967. That is going to be your golden pocket in confluence with the backtest of the pitchfork of the breakout of the bearish pitchfork. And then to the upside, I'm really just going to be looking to continue up to that naked weekly point of control at 3136 and up to about, that $3,200 area where the backtest of our macro channel is. If you guys want to know more about that, go check out the live stream on Friday. Okay, now next up, we're going to go into Solana. Solana is breaking some key levels here, but we are finding a little bit of resistance at the anchored VWAP from the all-time high. You can see we have our anchored VWAP that's from the all-time high. We broke above it and we were holding it as support for a bit, but once we lost it to the downside, it's acted as resistance 3 times now. And we are attempting a fourth attempt to get above that, to flip that to support. We're hovering right around it right now. But earlier, if we zoom in and look on lower time frames, earlier this week or over the weekend, we were able to break above it a bit, chop around for a little while, and now we're breaking above it. We're trying to hold it as support overall. We do have some bear divs on the chart, though. On the 2-hour chart, you can see higher highs in the price action, lower highs in the momentum waves, and your money flow is leaving and actually just crossing into the red now. So pretty aggressive. We did print a hidden bear signal followed by a bear signal on NAMI, and we are coming up into the value area high of our range, of our intermediate range. This range is from, let's zoom out to the 4-hour chart so we can get a better look. It's just this upper price action here that has been from April. about the end of April. So the last few months here, we've been kind of chopping around in this range, and we are near the value area high of the range. We did finally come up and hit into that golden pocket that I talked about last week. If we pull from the highs that of our last push down from the highs to the lows, and we look at our golden pocket, and let me make this right on there. Our golden pocket was coming in around that 164 area, 164 to 166. And we did have some internal highs into that golden pocket. And then we also had some highs just above that as well, right above. And you can see we did just grab the liquidity of the highs. And now we are seeing a bit of a reversal here after grabbing liquidity of the highs. So there's a potential that Solana could continue down. If we start to close 4-hour candles below this anchored VWAP, I do think we could see a bigger dump down to the bottom of this small range that has been developing. Let's go here, and if we just look at this range from Thursday, the weekend range, we are at the value area low of that range right now. And if we start to lose this value area low and the golden pocket's going to be just below that. There you go. Actually, yeah, we're at the golden pocket value area low right now. So if we're at support here on Solana locally, I do think Solana could come a little bit higher because we actually haven't touched the value area high at 170. But overall, we're seeing some bearish signals on Solana with the 2-hour bear divs and the money flow now draining out and even crossing into the red here. If we lose this local level of support at 161 that we're at right now, I expect to move down at least to the bottom of the range to take our local lows of our weekend range is at 157. But honestly, I would be probably expecting to move down to the point of control at 151, 151.6. Yeah, let's do a Fibonacci pull from the lows to the highs here. Okay. Golden pocket's going to be just above that, but I'd be looking in that general area from 151 to 153. We're at local support right now. I do think the highest probability is also for Solana continue to the upside. That does not mean we cannot see local pullbacks. I actually expect us to, after grabbing liquidity, to see a local pullback at least to the area where we're at now. If this area holds, I expect higher. But overall, on larger time frames, let's just now look at the more macro price action of Solana. I do expect us to continue pumping to the value area high of our multi-year or our major range. So if we look at this upper price action here on Solana from the March 2024 highs, you can see we've been going sideways. Let me turn off this pitchfork now because we have broken it and it's just getting in the way. Now, we have our smaller range that we're looking at, but let me go ahead and turn that smaller range off, and let's look at our more macro range on Solana, being from March of 2024 to present day. If we turn on that macro range, you can see that the value area high was front ran the last time we came up to it. We had front run it just barely. That was in May, at the end of May. So I do expect that now that we're breaking back above the point of control, flipping that point of control to support, I do think that we could continue to work our way up to the value area high of that range, where we do have a very nice liquidity grab into that value area high. Also, if we pull a Fibonacci from the all-time high to the lows of the corrective move, and we turn on our log golden pocket, you can see the logarithmic golden pocket is coming in right into that value area high. So that is our next major resistance for Solana. And that is where I expect Solana overall to continue to grind up to over the next weeks, days to weeks here, is that 190, 192 to $200 area. This is going to be and we do have that liquidity grab into that area as well of those May highs. So what's going to be key for Solana is to start to break above and close daily candles above this anchored VWAP. You can see we're still struggling with the anchored VWAP here. And now that we've taken local liquidity, we could see a bit of a pullback I would like to see Solana start closing daily candles again above this anchored VWAP that's going to be coming in right around 162.5, 162.6. Our money flow still looks pretty good. It's still overall coming to the upside on Solana, on Market Cipher B. It's not quite crossed into the green yet, but you can see on NAMI, our money flow has crossed over into the green and is looking strong here. If we zoom into the 4-hour chart, the 4-hour, just like many altcoins and Bitcoin, we are seeing those bear divs come in, but money flow is not really seeing the bear divs like on Ethereum. So it is looking better, at least locally, than Ethereum is on 4-hour. And yeah, I do expect we could see a bit of a pullback from here, potentially down to that 153 to 151 area. But I do expect overall to continue up to the macro value area high and macro logarithmic golden pocket. Okay, on to SUI. Now, SUI, guys, is very, very interesting because on SUI, we were looking for spot buys in this area here based off of our impulse, our last impulse we saw on the daily, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I actually have that on the chart. Let me go ahead and throw that on there. We confirmed a 5-wave impulse to the upside back in April through May, through mid-May. And since that 5-wave impulse completed, we were looking for a higher low to come in on the charts to continue a bigger impulse to the upside, potentially making new all-time highs on SUI. And so now, if you guys watched my live stream on Friday, we did talk in depth about this. We came down to our spot buy level, which is why I was looking for spot buys down here, is based off of this being an impulsive structure to the upside. So I was expecting a 3-wave move to the downside to your local golden pocket, then continuation in a possible wave 3 to much higher targets. And so now that we have confirmed the bounce from that golden pocket, confirmed a higher low on the daily time frame, we have seen a bit of a multiple 1-2 in here where I expect, say, a SUI to continue breaking up to at least the value area high of our macro range. And this macro range is value area high is going to be coming in right around 445. And you can see that we do have a liquidity grab of those impulsive highs into that value area high. But very, very locally, we are in our box of resistance. And we marked this out on Friday. We've actually had this marked out before Friday, but we've been looking at this. We looked at this on Friday. Oops, let me remove that. And this area here is we had a lot of confluence in this area of resistance. We had our 786 Fibonacci pull from the highs of the impulse to the corrective lows. We had a naked weekly point of control in here. We had a naked daily point of control and a naked monthly point of control as well, all in this general area. And you can see we are rejecting from this area, or we're in process of rejecting from this area. But what I would like to say, let me go ahead and turn these levels off now. I just wanted to show you they were there. And let me turn off the box now, just so you guys can see that a little bit better. We broke out of our descending channel, of our major corrective descending channel here on SUI. Ever since making the all-time high, we made a lower high here, and then we had our first initial low. So we pulled this trend, and you can see, where do we bounce? At the midline / golden pocket, which is the area of where you would expect to find support. So if you bounce from that midline, you're going to be expecting a move, at least to attempt to break out of the channel again. Well, we came up to the top of the channel, and we broke out of it here over the weekend. You can see a nice volume push to the upside here, breaking above the candle. And now let's go ahead and zoom in on lower time frames, and we can diagnose that. You can see here SUI is actually breaking out of the channel, and we're in the process right now of, on a lower time frames, flipping it to support to continue the impulse up to new higher levels. So very, very locally, we are at support as we speak. Yes, we are still at the top of a pump. And yes, if we fall back inside this channel and confirm a flip, we could see a much bigger drop on SUI to the downside. But if we hold this area of support that we're at right now, around 380 to 382, I do expect SUI to continue pushing up to 429 and then even much higher levels. Let's go up, zoom out to the 6-hour chart. I expect us to push up to grab the highs of our impulse up, potentially up to 445, and then potentially much, much even higher, because if we look at this impulsive structure, if we're looking at more macro impulsive structures like a weekly time frame, if this is our wave one, this is our wave two, we could see a wave three impulse us all the way up to $6.47. You can see we also have our bigger targets up there as well. And then we could see, possibly a move over the next few months all the way up to $7.62, where I would be looking for some major spot TP levels, potentially selling a lot of my alt bag up there. But overall, Sui's looking good. Sui's looking bullish. We probably are going to see continuation to the upside. Now, there's no guarantees in trading. We are at the resistance being the top of the channel. And yes, there are times where you break out of that channel. You see a little bit of what you call failed auction type price action, where you kind of form a range there for a bit. And then if you break back inside of it, you can expect to move down to the point of control, which is going to be coming in around 350, 348, 347, 348. But if we can hold local support right now, I expect us to continue moving up to take out the highs of this impulse, which is going to be at 429, 429.67. So actually closer to 430. We are seeing some bear divs on the chart. Higher highs on the price action, lower highs on the momentum waves on the 6 hour. Also, NAMI confirmed the bear divs on the 6 hour. On NAMI, the money flow is just now crossing into the red here. Market Cipher B, it doesn't look as bad, but we are starting to top out on the 6 hours. So we're at a key decision point. If we fall back inside this channel, I expect us to move down to that 347 area. And if we pull a Fibonacci from the last range lows up to our new highs, you can see that golden pocket. Let me turn it off log scale. Golden pocket here. Okay, golden pocket's coming in a little bit higher than that. Let's look at her. 786 is going to be around that area. So 345-ish area is where I expect us to pull back to. And that is also your lower degree wave 4 in that general area is your lower degree wave 4. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to, well, we can cover Say real quick. I don't keep my chart fully updated on Say like I do with a lot of the other altcoins, but Say has been an interesting one that we've been covering in the Discord for quite a while. And I am very bullish on Say, and I actually think that Say could continue breaking up to that 50-cent level. But if we're looking at, say, we were in a much larger downtrend here for, since March of 2024, for a whole year, we saw a very big three-wave corrective move to the downside, pretty much almost to the lows of the coin, bear market lows, I guess you could say. And after making that three-wave corrective move, we have started some impulsive price action to the upside, very, very locally on the daily time frame. You can see a very 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had a very nice 5-wave impulse. But what I want to show you here that's key is we pulled this bearish pitchfork, pulled from the all-time high down to your first major correction lows up to the first major lower high on the daily time frame. And you can see how well this pitchfork has been respected. We held the band as support here, got a lower high, lost the band, back tested it as support, confirmed the flip to resistance, dropped down to the midline, saw a little bit of a bounce there, but overall rejected, made a lower high. We came down to the lower band. Well, the lower band held as support for many, many times on the daily time frame for many weeks. But then when we lost it, we back tested it as resistance in this area. We rejected, making another lower high, and we worked our way down to the bottom of the pitchfork. But at the bottom of the pitchfork, we got a very, very bullish reaction here. We got that very bullish reaction, and we saw a push up inside the band again, saw a bit of a rejection in the band, but was able to break above it, flip it to support, continue up to the midline. So that completed your first big impulse on the daily time frame, a push from the bottom of the pitchfork to the midline of the pitchfork. Now, after rejecting from the midline, you can see what happened. We grind down for weeks until we hit the lower band. We held the lower band now, confirming a flip to support. And so what do we expect? We expect to at least make another run at the midline of the pitchfork. Well, we did make another run, but this time we broke above the pitchfork. And let me hide this small range so you guys can get a better look at this. We broke above the pitchfork, almost up to the upper band. You can see it broke above it, almost to the upper band, came back down and back tested it. Now, a couple weeks ago, if you guys were in the Jason Casper Discord with me, we actively longed that 2467. It was my long entry here based off the bullish backtest of that pitchfork midline, because we had broken above it, what used to be acting as resistance, Now we're breaking above it, so we can expect a flip to support to continue pushing higher. Now, we did long that 2467 back test. It was also a local golden pocket. If we zoom in onto the 4-hour chart and we look at this push up golden pocket, you can see the golden pocket was right at 2467. We back tested the golden pocket. We back tested the pitchfork midline, got a push up. We did make a kind of triangle in here, a wedge pattern in a corrective move, and now we're breaking out of that wedge, and you can see what happened. We came up to the next major pitchfork band of resistance. Let me zoom back out onto some higher time frames. So now we are breaking above, but what is key here is this is what we call accumulation zone. So you can see after years of dropping, or a year of dropping, March 2024, over a year of dropping, 70-80% on the altcoins price, we did form this bottoming range. Now, pattern traders will call this an inverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. You've got your bottom reversal pattern. We know an inverse head and shoulders is a bottoming reversal pattern. Your neckline being that midline, essentially. Now, Wyckoff trader would call this a model 2 accumulation. You have your low, your tap 1, your tap 2, and this is your tap 3 into your higher low golden pocket. And now we're breaking and we're starting to see the expansion phase come in on this push to the ups, on this accumulation, this multi-month accumulation that we saw on Say. So that's why I did say a couple weeks ago, if we break this midline, I'm going to be looking for the back test to long it to potentially come all the way up to the top of the pitchfork, because this expansion could continue all the way up to the top. Now we are hitting into a more macro resistance. We're hitting into the band for the first time since we've lost it way back here. So I do expect to find some resistance, but you can also see the upper part of the band, our macro golden pocket, is going to be coming in at the upper part of the band. And so we might continue to kind of grind in these, ending structures that we see, these ascending channels, up to about 38 cents. At 38 cents, if we do reject from that area, I'm going to be looking for a bigger pullback from 38 cents, 38 to about 40 cents. And so, but this is our area where we oftentimes do see these upper bands act as ranging areas. We start to range in them for a bit. And so if we continue to grind up here locally to 38 cents, see a rejection, then I'll be looking for a move at least back to the lower part of the band, which is about 34 cents. And then we could see what happens from there. But overall, hitting into resistance, could see a little bit of a pullback to our micro range lows. So if we zoom in onto the 2-hour, you can see we have a range that's formed over the weekend, just like many of the coins. We can pull the volume profile of this range. After hitting into our pitchfork band, we can look for local support levels to see if it will hold and then continue to the upper part of the band. So we've already hit into our golden pocket. We're seeing a bit of a bounce from the golden pocket right now. And if we do not hold this golden pocket and we come down again, I'm going to expect us to come take the lows of the range. These lows that are coming in around 31 cents. And in that case, I would be looking at all of the price action above the midline as a range in itself. So actually, this is very nice because you can see all the price action above the pitchfork midline. Your value area high bullish backtest is going to be an SFP of those lows. So 31 cents. If we lose the 32.7, I'm expecting a move down to 31. But I will be looking for a confirmed swing failure pattern. Remember, only if it's a confirmed swing failure pattern, meaning piercing the level below it and then rising above it and closing a candle, I would say a 5 to 15 minute candle back above those range lows. I will enter along to push up at least probably to 38 cents. But I might take some profit when we break the local highs. At least 50% profit when we break the local highs. But overall, I'm bullish on Say, and I do think more upside to 38 cents is highly probable. Okay, going on to XRP, guys. XRP is hitting into our box of resistance. Now, we talked about this a bit on Friday as well. XRP has been in a very bullish mode ever since we saw that 600% pump earlier this year. We pumped up, we topped out, made a new all-time high, and since then we've been grinding in this descending channel. Now, I pulled this descending channel months ago, from these two little highs there and then down to our flash crash lows. We've been grinding in this descending channel and also in this volume profile for about 7-8 months. You can see we broke out of that. Once we broke the channel, we got impulsive volume supported move to the upside. So what do you expect on after breaking any sort of channel structure? Oftentimes it builds a liquidity trail as you're forming that channel. All these are lower highs where stops are being placed above those lower highs and you're building a trail of liquidity. So I've talked about this many times on my channel, but with an ascending channel or a descending channel, oftentimes when you break that channel, you will at least come grab the liquidity of the second pivot of that channel. Now, I'm looking at this as the second pivot, even though technically the second pivot is this guy, but this is our next major lower high. And you can see what happened after breaking. We came up and we swept the liquidity of that second pivot into our box of resistance. This was the only resistance that we were watching on Friday, was that 301 to 310 area. We came up, we SFP'd the second pivot of the channel. We did not quite hit our naked weekly point of control. We also had a value area low of this upper range in there. We've got a lot of confluence up in here of resistance in this box between 301 and 310. So we are seeing a bit of a rejection from this area. If we zoom in onto the 4-hour chart, you can see we did have the 4-hour bear divs coming up into resistance. So expect a bit of a pullback here. NAMI money flow is draining out, but on Market Cipher B, money flow looks still very healthy. It is starting to top out a bit here, meaning we could see a little bit of a move down. So what am I looking for locally on XRP? Because I do think we can continue higher on XRP. But you can see that our macro 7-month range value area high is around 259. We broke that value area high with a volume supported push to the upside. So now I'm going to be looking for that value area high, which has not been back tested yet, to confirm a flip to support. I'm going to be looking for that as a major support level, where if we do reject from this liquidity grab, we could come down, take out our range lows from the weekend into that value area high at 259 and then continue moving up to higher prices. So I will be looking for local long opportunities around 259, with it being the range lows, an SFP of the range lows into that value area high. If we lose that, I'm going to be looking simply at our point of control at 241 again. 241 is the anchored VWAP from the all-time high in confluence with our macro POC. So those are the two levels I'm looking at. If we lose those, yes, there are more levels to the downside, but I'm not going to cover those right now. If we get there, we'll discuss it then. You can see on the daily time frame, very nice impulse to the upside, breaking this channel, exactly what you want to see. Oftentimes, after breaking a channel and doing a liquidity grab, you will see a bit of a small pullback. And if we do see a small pullback, that's fine. Then we could continue pushing up here. And I do think that XRP has the potential of breaking up to new all-time highs in the next following weeks. We could see this as a much bigger impulse to the upside. Because we bounced from our macro 382, that has told us that XRP is overall more macro bullish. And if you guys want to know more about that, go watch my live stream on Friday. I cover it in detail. But since hitting into that 382, we did see our impulse to the upside. We did see a corrective move making a higher low. And now we're pushing up. And this could be the start of a much bigger, a 1, 2, and then we could be in our third wave, pushing potentially in our third wave up to 428. Breaking the all-time highs, continuing up to 428 before seeing a corrective 4 and then another high and a 5, potentially ending your bull market price action and going from there. But I do think XRP has a higher probability, more macro, to continue to higher levels. Now, locally, we grab the liquidity and we are seeing a confirmed swing failure pattern, so we could see a drop down to 259 or potentially even 241. Let's actually pull. Here we go, and let's do our strong trend here. Okay. Yeah, I think that 260, 259 area is going to be good because it is also our macro 382 of the impulse of price action up. And we do know the 382 acts as strong support or resistance in a strong trend. And so I would say this push up on the daily so far has been a very strong impulsive move to the upside. So that area between 260 and 259 or 258.5 is going to be the area of support that I will be looking at to potentially long this to take up at least to 310, potentially much higher. Okay, and then lastly, let's go on to Chainlink. Chainlink, guys, is still in its bigger range. So on the daily time frame, since November of 2023, we have been in this more sideways range, corrective range here, above our multi-year accumulation. So we had multi-year accumulation down here. We had expansion to the upside, and after that expansion, we've kind of been settling, creating a new fair value for Chainlink between $20 and $11, 11.50. And so long story short is we came down to the value area low of our macro range. We held it as support. We're breaking above the point of control of that macro area. We flipped it to support, and now we're continuing to push up. So let me do this first here. Let's hide our smaller range for just now, and we'll talk about the macro range. So you can see here we have broken above our point of control. Bouncing from the value area low, breaking above the point of control. Now we have a high likelihood of that point of control and the anchored VWAP from the lows holding as support to continue to push up to the value area high. So yes, we are seeing a bit of a pullback from our lower range. If we zoom in more and just look at this bottoming price action here, and we turn on that range, you can see that that range is going to be the value area high is where we're at now. And actually, let me go ahead and pull this. We can just look at that whole bottoming price action there. Yeah, we're actually breaking above the value area high if you pull to that. The reason why I had it pulled to the lows down here started here because this was clearly an impulse to the downside. So when that impulse ends and then you start that more the start of a new potential impulse to the upside. So if we look at that range that I initially had on it, we're rejecting from the value area high. And we did take local internal liquidity, rejecting from the value area high. Yes, we could see a bit of a pullback to the macro point of control. The macro point of control is going to be coming in around 14.3. But if we go ahead and take this lower range and just include all that bottom sideways price action, very, very locally just below us, we do have support. That is going to be coming in around 15.4. If we lose 15.4, I expect us to move down. We do have a daily level. Let me just mark that out here. There's our new daily at 15.1. Not new, I'm sure it's already on the chart, and let's zoom in here onto the 2-hour chart. Let's pull a Fibonacci very locally. And let's look at our local golden pocket. Okay, golden pocket is going to be coming in right around that value area high that we're breaking above. So of our smaller range, our bottoming price action, let's zoom out just a bit so I can get a better look. Since March 25th, that bottoming price action, you can see we're breaking above the value area high of the range, and our local golden pocket retracement is going to be in confluence with the bullish backtest of that value area high. So that 15.3, 15.38 to 15.32 is our most local support level. If we break that, I do expect a move. We do have a daily level that's just below, which we're going to have a 786 in confluence with. But I probably expect us to continue pushing down to take out those lows around 14.7. So very, very locally, your daily level will be a support level. And I almost want to say, if we look at this local range and we look at our local highs here, pierce above there, pierce above there. But if we pull that volume profile to where I had it first, where the impulsive structure ends down here, you can see that value area high. Actually, let me get it to right here. That value area high is much better respected. So I would say, in some ways, I like this volume profile better because you can see we had a perfect rejection from that value area high and we attempted to break out, but now we're falling back in. And even locally, you can see here, broke inside of it, tried for a back test the last, today, and now we're continuing to drop. So I would actually say, This volume profile is a little bit better respected, and I am going to be sticking with this volume profile. You can see perfect rejection here. Another low time frame rejected, bounced from VWAP, broke above it, took the highs out of our local liquidity up here, and then we are dropping. So now that we're dropping back inside of it, you can see lost it, back tested it. We're starting to drop here. So I think that we could see a move down to the daily 786 at $15, 15.1. If we lose 15.1, I expect us to at least come down and take out those lows, those range lows of this week and low, 14.7. But honestly, I think that we'll probably work our way down to 14.3 because we have not back tested this macro point of control since breaking above it. Let's zoom out here. This is our macro point of control. So let me hide the small range again so no confusion here. But you can see since we've broken on this daily impulse to the upside, since we have broken above that point of control, we have not back tested it yet. So that area is our more macro support where we could look for a very good potential long opportunity to continue pushing up to the anchored VWAP from the cycle highs, which is going to be about $18 here. We also do have that key liquidity that is resting right up there, right into that anchored VWAP. So overall, I do expect Chainlink, just like many of these coins, looks like it's in a multiple 1-2 impulse here. You have your big first wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, 2, 1, 2. So a triple 1, 2. You get your push in a third wave. We could see some multiple 4-5s grinding up to that $18 area, ultimately finishing this impulse at 18 and then seeing a pullback from there. So I am looking for overall on higher time frames continuation to the upside, but locally, yes, we're seeing those same bear divs like 6-hour bear divs, higher highs in the price action, lower highs in the momentums, money flows topping out. Nami's confirmed that money flows just crossing over into the red on the 6-hour on Nami. So looking for local pullbacks on a lot of these coins, but overall to make higher lows and continue grinding to the upside. A lot of this is going to depend on Bitcoin. Let's check Bitcoin real quick. Okay, yeah, Bitcoin just, kind of slowly grinding down. Slowly grinding down. We have two support levels. We have the fib channel between 118.5 and 118.7, and then we have that naked weekly point of control and daily level at pretty much 117.5. And then if we break below those, honestly, we're probably going to be looking for a much bigger move down. But we'll discuss that if it happens. Honestly, more probable that we hold local support and continue higher. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in today. If you got anything out of this video, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. I am going to be doing live streams on my channel Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you'd like to join, we go over altcoins. We go over Bitcoin in depth. You guys can ask me any questions. And I like to cover the altcoins that people request. So if you request an altcoin, we can go into that. Have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow.